Hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Consciousness Rising. I'm Tanya Norris. I'll be your host today, and we are extremely privileged to have with us all the way from Cape Town, Charl Pienaar. Hello, Charl, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Tanya. I'm privileged to be chatting to you and your listeners in Zimbabwe. I'm sitting in a small town called Paarl, which means pearl, about 60 kilometers from Cape Town.
Okay. And Charl, before we get into all the good stuff, because we're going to be talking about Ormus, we're going to be talking about you coming up to Zim, because you're coming up with a group of people coming to do some groundwork here. And also you'll be having a workshop. Before we get into all of that, could you just tell us, I know that your background is in agriculture and permaculture. Can you just tell our listeners just a little bit about that?
Yes, surely. You can say I've got a solid scientific background. I studied up to a master's degree in plant genetics. And the first 10 years of my career went into working with maize and wheat and all of that out on farms to do commercial plant breeding. And I also did a master's degree in business administration, or MBA. And that led me to other career choices like computer work for 10 years, consulting work in agriculture for land reform work in South Africa for 10 years. And then I went through a total transformation. And that took me to lots of interesting things like biodynamic agriculture, organics. I used to be an organic inspector. And I'm now full-time busy with, you can say, energetic work in agriculture, which includes the Ormus work that you mentioned already.
Okay, terrific. Now, Ormus is something I came across it some years ago, doing research and whatever. But at that time, I remember it being referred to as monatomic gold. And it's also made into a product. When you can explain all of that to us, it's also made into a product. But at that time, to buy it on the internet was hugely expensive. I think it was something like $69 US for a tub. And that obviously wasn't going to last you very long. And so shipping, so it was really unbeknownst to me. And I was very surprised to find out that you are actually making that. Right here, and I don't know if you're the only person in Africa making it, probably you are. So will you give us a little bit, explain to people what is Ormus and why should we all be taking it and using it?
Yeah, let me start by saying not all kinds of Ormus is the same. It depends pretty much on the input material. And I had to retrain myself for this work to be an alchemist. And alchemy is all about transformation. Not only the physical stuff, like from lead to gold, which is one of the Ormus works, but also to bring in consciousness, to bring in spirit into the work, which then makes it different from chemistry, which is more or less about putting different materials together, getting a whole reaction there. And it's more like analytical or dead, I would even say. Whereas alchemy is pretty much very, very old. It's the oldest science as far as I am concerned. But it's pretty much about life and not dead material. So my work as alchemist is to kind of give birth to a substance that gets transformed. The specific method I use is not that what you read about initially, which I'm sure was using gold as the input material, obviously making it very expensive. But there are other more softer, natural ways to produce Ormus, and that is the route I chose. I also found Ormus on the internet 14 years ago, and that was an article I picked up on Google with the title, "The Magic and the Mystery of the Ormus Minerals." And it immediately grabbed me. I mean, I just knew right from when I opened that article that this is what I need to learn and do. So the source material I use for producing Ormus is sea sources, not seawater as such. And I know you guys are pretty far from the sea, but
Right.
but I use salts and brine, which is the last liquid stage before salt. And that is the source material. Why is that? Because naturally minerals accumulate in the sea, having originated on land from rocks and soils and so on. And over millions of years, the sea became the repository of these minerals. And minerals are hugely important for health because neither us, nor animals, nor plants, nor microbes really can produce minerals ourselves. We've got to take it from the outside. And I think that's part of the magic of Ormus. It brings the minerals in, especially magical, where you have a demineralized situation. Like most of our soils. Our soils have been depleted over many years, and especially the last 100 years, through reckless agricultural practices like chemical fertilizer and so forth. So just to summarize quite a long story, my work as alchemist is to bring the minerals back in a transformed state, which we can talk about more, in a transformed state onto land for the feeding of microbes, for the feeding of humans through their microbial life in their gut, and plants through their work to capture sunlight to produce food for us to use and animals to use.
So for people who really have never heard about Ormus, what it is, you could sort of maybe liken it to some kind of a supplement. So I don't know if it comes in capsules or in liquids, or maybe you make it into all of those various different compounds that we take, we ingest, and then that benefits our body, not just on a physical level, or say the atoms and the protons and all of that, but also on a how could you say, not spiritual, but a consciousness level. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can say that. The magic in Ormus, the specialness of Ormus, lies in the so-called transition metals. That's a so-called platinum group, including gold. So let's take gold as an example. Gold in the form that we know it, that thing you put on your finger, is like yellow, and it's not usable as a food as such. I mean, it's toxic really, and it's non-bioavailable. So gold in its usual state that we know is pretty useless. Well, it's useful for many other purposes, but for food, it's useless. The alchemical process that I've mastered over a long time takes the gold and other transition metals, and it transforms those metals into what the word you used previously, its monoatomic state, which then makes it bioavailable and non-toxic. So that is really the magic of Ormus as a food supplement, I would say. But remembering that it's not like, you go to the hospital and get put on a drip and your whole system of digestion is circumvented. No, we want to stay as close to nature as we can. And therefore our company's logo, the company is called TransfOrmus. Its logo is working with nature. So the best way to take Ormus really is through food. Food grown with Ormus minerals, so that the mineral content of that food is high. And that transfers the benefit of the minerals into our body into a natural way. Yes, we do produce a human consumption Ormus, which we call Ora Ormus. And it's good to take. And we can feed plants in hydroponic systems with Ormus, and we've got 2 versions of it. But it's all about the microbes. I must be very clear about that. The microbes live in symbiosis with us and with plants, and Ormus in its best application is to stimulate that microbial life, the beneficial microbes that feed us and feed plants.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if somebody, let's just say you had parasites or some kind of parasites living in your body that were not benefiting your body, and you took the Ormus, it would get rid of those and enhance the good flora that we need in our bodies.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything to do with getting rid of stuff. But if you stimulate the beneficial microbes in soils and in your body, then naturally it repels invasive, non-beneficial microbes. Okay. So we want to line our gut with the beneficial microbes. Then we're much less prone to be attacked by non-beneficial microbes. And I mean, that goes for the skin as well. We in the course of years, developed skin products, which is quite amazing in its ability to bring the needed minerals to that place of a wound or sunburn or some kind of irritation on the skin, and help your skin to regenerate and be healthy and vibrant.
Okay, so you're talking all about these products. When you come up to Zim, let's just talk about that for a little while. You will be coming up with Diana Smith, Colin Smith, and doing some kind of land clearing work. But you'll also be running a workshop on the Saturday. And yes, at that workshop, you will be explaining what, how people can make their own, or the benefits of using it, how the applications are. Just tell us a little bit about what that workshop will be about.
Yeah, we have a very crazy business philosophy, and that is to have no secrets. So we teach people actually how to make Ormus. There's a popular saying that the best Ormus for you is the Ormus you make yourself. Why is that? Because then you can imprint, you can bring your own needs into the product. So when you take it, it's for your maximum benefit. And there are various examples of that in nature, where animals, for instance, cows, can manipulate subtly their environment to feed them the feedstocks that they are in need of. So it's a wonderful biomimicry thing to think that we can actually, through our work in producing something, enhance our own health. It's a wonderful thing. So that is what the workshop is all about. It's a participative workshop. Everybody contributes, and I have no secrets. We give the recipe and we go through the process of producing the Ormus. Just remembering that it takes a week for a batch of Ormus to be completed. So we will make the Ormus, and then there'll be a week of purifying, imprinting. So yeah, that's the reality.
So it's quite a process. It's not just a 2-hour go and make a cake in the kitchen and bam, it's there. It's a process. You have to be committed.
Absolutely. As above, so below, as within, so without. That's the mantra of an alchemist.
But you will also be bringing some products that you have that maybe people could buy if they're interested. Is that correct?
Well, the lovely thing about the workshop is that the Ormus that we make at the workshop, we'll be doing 2 batches. That'll produce about 6 or 7 liters of Ormus. And that Ormus is for the benefit of the attendees of the workshop. So there's no buying if you want to use Ormus afterwards. You'll be getting your share of the Ormus made at the workshop. But yes, surely I will be bringing some of the other products, like the skin products and others that needs additional inputs. And that would be for sale. I mean, I can't bring a whole load, but in limited quantities, yes.
So now, one of the other benefits of Ormus, to my understanding, and you'll have to just correct me here, is that it's being used as some kind of a transformational tools, so to speak, for yourself, not just physically, but also, like I said earlier, consciously. So the benefits of taking Ormus would help you to be more aligned, is to say all the microbes in your body would be more aligned. And when that happens, you then have a stronger connection to maybe psychic abilities or, any of those sort of connections that you need to source. Or is that correct? Is that another reason why people should take it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. To explain it a little bit, I feel my work as alchemist is to find that sweet spot where spirit and matter meet each other halfway. And we know from the work that Emoto did, the Japanese researcher, by giving messages to water, that water actually picks up those messages and are carriers of messages through its crystalline structure. I mean, that's the same way that cell phones and computers work. There's crystal stuff there. So in the same way, but only much stronger, Ormus is a carrier of intentions. So in the making of the Ormus, we do a so-called imprint of intentions into the matter. And that imprint then goes along, and that's lovely stuff. Like one of my favorite mantras is to the flow of love, which comes from work that Rudolf Steiner described in terms of bees and how they work. So that flow of love then is imprinted into the Ormus, and it goes along and it does wonderful things. It's also similar to when imprinting is done with medicine, homeopathy. There's a similar process of imprinting where the matter gets less and less through dilution. And as the work progresses, there's imprinting and the message gets stronger and stronger, whereas the matter gets weaker and weaker. So it's a well-known technology that is used in homeopathy.
It is. And does it also not, it does something like with the, does it not work on your magnetic fields as well?
Absolutely. Our understanding is that living entities are in a magnetic, in an electric state. That's the right word, electric. So when you do take Ormus, it enhances and stimulates the electric state. We've got a beautiful image that was done on a Skyo machine. Skyo machine, that's the machine that was designed to monitor the health of astronauts. And in this particular Skyo image, which I can call up if needed, there is a imprint, or there is a picture of before and after taking Ormus on a 3-minute interval. And it's just beautiful to see what Ormus does to the human aura in a matter of 3 minutes. It fills the aura out. There's a very strong connection that happens above and below. And the color identification on that image is just wonderful to see. How it just goes into beautiful patterns of color compared to the before Ormus picture. So we're pretty confident.
NASA is well aware of these, of Ormus.
Who?
NASA, if they're testing this on astronauts.
No. You must understand me. That machine was originally built to monitor astronauts. But we've just used the machine to get a sense of what Ormus does to a human aura.
Okay.
Yes, but just to add to your your question there, Ormus is old, very, very old. It comes from Egyptian pharaoh times, and through work that was done in the desert there in the Sinai Peninsula, there was an Ormus factory that produced the white powder of gold. And it is reputed through research that Lawrence Gardner did in his books, for instance, the Holy Ark. It is reputed that the Ark was actually an Ormus making machine, and that the manna that the Israelis consumed in their 40 years in the desert was actually Ormus that they got. So manna equals Ormus. That's the theory that Lawrence Gardner brought. So it's got a deep history.
I've heard stories like that, and there's also, I think, in Muslim or in Quran or in Arabic tales as well, where they talk about manna being the foods of the gods.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so outside of the Moses story, it is talked about as well.
Yeah, we recently watched a documentary of the Koji tribe in South America, and they go out and collect seashells, and they bake those seashells, and they have some process where they put it on a stick, which they carry around with them. And that is their food when they move around. And we're pretty confident that what they get from those seashells is some form of Ormus that comes from the seashells. Yes, it's fascinating stuff when you look at how indigenous tribes discovered the benefits of Ormus.
Well, a very interesting thing. So, Charl, I'll just tell you this very synchronistic story. So I never watch the news. Okay, I even forbid anyone. I don't want to see those faces, and I don't want to hear those voices in my lounge. Okay, but anyway, I do have a husband, and I think he's entitled to do what he wants. So I was talking to him last night, and the news is going on in the background, and it was on BBC, and I suddenly heard them talking about scientists at a Hadron Collider having discovered some kind of force that they can't explain and is going to change the nature of physics, okay, or the laws of physics as we understand it. So then after that, I thought, oh, that's just interesting, because that's kind of a little bit what we're talking about, aren't we? You know, having some kind of maybe fifth element or fifth state of matter. So anyway, I just want to read you a little bit of an excerpt here. Okay, so all of the forces we experience every day can be reduced to just 4 categories: gravity, electromagnetism, the strong force, and a weak force. Now physicists say they have found possible signs of a 5th fundamental force of nature. The findings come from research carried out at a laboratory near Chicago, where they've got like a small Hadron Collider.
Yeah.
So the 4 fundamental forces govern how all the objects and particles in the universe interact with each other. So yada, 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 yada. Meaning force, so just reading here then currently. So the University of Manchester researcher added, clearly this is a very exciting discovery because it potentially points to a future with new laws of physics, new particles and new forces which we have not seen to date. Anyway, I'll put the link underneath and after our chat so people can just have a look at that article. And I just thought, you know, it's just so interesting how science is taking so long to catch up to, you know, to sort of bring that, say the science or the physics and the magic together to explain things, all these things that you are talking about and we talk about in our metaphysical world. You know, like we know that there's an existence of a 5th and a 6th and a, you know, whatever force out there. But it's exciting actually that scientists are now beginning to look at that and be a little bit bamboozled. And maybe this kind of thing will change the laws of, or our understanding of the laws of physics, and maybe even explain some of the things that we are talking about.
I think so, Tanya. And I mean, if we look at science as what happened over time, science studied dead material because of the complexity of life. The attempt all along has been to reduce and, study the smallest and the largest, and thereby cutting out the study of what we can call life force. So I had to unlearn a lot of that stuff to be able to understand that there are plenty of unknowns and that we actually know really, really very little.
But Charl, now you've been doing this for a long time. You must have gained quite a bit of evidence of some sorts of transformation, whether it's in humans or plants or animals.
Yes.
Give us some examples.
Well, we've just, we're on the point of having a meeting with a big retailer in South Africa called Woolworths. Maybe you've got it there as well. And what we're demonstrating to Woolworths is the effect of Ormus on shelf life, on the life of produce in the shop. And I've just read my partner Pete's summary of that research we did on the shelf life of roses, for instance, breaking up a bunch of Woolworths roses into 3, treating one with Ormus, treating one with a Woolworths food, a little package that comes with the roses, and the third one just normal water. And I mean, it's chalk and cheese, the effect of Ormus on that roses. It's undisputable. And then
it's a very simple experiment to do, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then we did the same kind of thing with sprouts. And I mean, sprouts is a wonderful food because of that explosive power of germinating seeds. And I treated one batch of sprouts with Ormus in the soak stage. And next door, there's another batch just with water. And beautiful. I mean, it's just so obvious that how Ormus imparts life and extended life to those 2 samples. And in a third experiment, we treated plants in a field 1 week before harvest. It was on beans and spinach. And we harvested those treated and untreated plots and let them degenerate just through leaving it out of the fridge. And so beautiful. That treatment with almost 1 week before harvesting just extended the shelf life beautifully.
Can you also see it in the plant? I mean, if you're treating sprouts and things, say a week before they're harvested, can you actually physically see that in the plant itself?
For sure, for sure. We've got various experiments at the moment going in nurseries, for instance. We've got a big wholesale nursery in Vredendal, and there we've got 200 different species of plants. We're talking garden plants, treated and untreated. And the evidence is undisputable. I mean, I would even say a blind person can see it, because there's enhanced growth, there's brighter flowers, there's bigger harvests. It's undisputed. I'm a scientist, and I can say that without any doubt in my mind.
Oh, that's just so exciting.
I'll add one thing to that. The more demineralized the situation is, the bigger the effect, the bigger the magic. Whereas if you have a well-mineralized situation, then the effect is less, but you then can maintain the mineral status of that soil or organism. So the magic differs a little bit according to the status of the organism.
So if we, for example, were ingesting it or eating vegetables, say from our own vegetable garden that's been fed with the Ormus, would that, after a while, reduce our need for supplements? I mean, everybody's taking some kind of supplement, you know, even if it's a simple BC or mineral supplement, you know. So once we had that kind of organic thing going on in our body, we wouldn't need to take any more supplements.
Well, I'm not a medical professional, but what I do know is that you get macro elements and you get micro elements. And the Ormus focuses mostly on the micro. And I know for sure, because I do, I've had the analysis done. In normal table salt, there are, in the one table salt we use, there are like 65, 67 different minerals. But most of them we haven't ever even heard about. And they are in very small quantities in sea sources. But if you have a deficiency in one of those, even though it's small quantities, then the whole system suffers, because you need that stuff. So I think you might need the bulk stuff still, you know, your carbohydrates and whatever. But Ormus looks after the micro elements. And there's I believe in our Ormus there must be, because I use 5 different salts and the brine, there must be in the order of 80 or over 80 different microminerals. It's a wonderful thing for a Libran like me to realize that it covers a very wide range of things that we might need in our body.
So now tell me, people attending the workshop, and I really just, I say to people, you know, really don't miss this opportunity. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be here. I'm going away the day before. I will get to see you, but obviously I won't be around to do the workshop. But anybody attending the workshop or thinking about it, I mean, this is a fantastic opportunity, completely life-giving. You know, if we do anything life-giving to yourself, this will be one of those things that you do. Charl, do people, if they're attending the workshop, do they have to bring things with them? I mean, certain things, because it sounds a bit scientific, bowls, jugs, liquid.
No, I will bring everything. Some of the things are not that easy to find, but we've developed what I call a travel kit. And in the travel kit, there are the essentials of what is not easy to find. So I will bring those along, and I'll bring my kit along. So it's just being present is it's everything that is needed, and obviously wide awake and so on. So I would, my aim with such a workshop is always that it must be a good value, and even go as far as wanting a life-changing experience for those that come. And that's a big ask, but I've done many workshops, and I know it is possible.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
And let me add, Tanya.
Yeah.
It's always an exchange. It's always teaching and learning. And I can reveal that this would be my first visit to Zimbabwe. So I'm really looking forward to it, and wanting to get to know the people of Zimbabwe and the environment. And as you said, we'll be going out in nature, working with landscapes. So I'm looking forward to that exchange, and not only giving, but also receiving.
Well, I'll tell you what, Charl, you're not going to be disappointed, because one thing I always say about Zimbabwe, and I've traveled quite a bit, and I have come across similar types of people as what we call Zimbos, but very salt of the earth, down to earth people. You know, our motivations in life, it's not about buying the next top and, you know, the next fastest car. Obviously, there's elements of society, but for the most part, you know, with all of our trials and tribulations, we're a lot more down to earth. And I always say that we're real people. If you want to meet real people, come here. And that might sound insulting, you know, to other nations and other cultures. And I have to guard myself when I say things like that. But you really will find a huge quantity of very real people here in Zim. And anyway, but I'll let you experience that for yourself. Don't let me influence you.
Not to worry, Tanya. I'll be attending the workshop with bare feet. So when you talk about...
So you're also a real person.
When you talk about down to the earth, that's me.
Yep. Good. That's what we like. And so, all right. So, Charl, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to put all of our details underneath, so people who want to contact you or want to book. And we said that is what, Saturday the 17th of April.
Yes.
Yeah,
17th of April. Yes,
that's correct. And so we'll leave it there, and the information will be below. And I really look forward to meeting you, Charl. Thank you for doing this and giving us some insights.
100%. I'm looking forward myself.
Yep. Anyway, so we'll be seeing you soon. So everybody else, please share this, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people, if you know that they're in some kind of agricultural field or organic field or alternative field, or, you know, people like that are going to be very interested in this kind of information, although the whole planet should be very interested. However, please do share it amongst your friends and your colleagues, and then hopefully I'll be seeing some of you, or Charl will be seeing some of you at the workshop.
Just a last word, if I may, Tanya. Thank you so much for the interview.
Yes.
I will also be chatting a little bit about various other, what I generally call low external input agriculture stuff. Because we don't want to bring expensive stuff in all the time. And I think eventually, if my dream becomes real, we'll want to produce almost in Zimbabwe, so that we don't have to shift stuff from South Africa to Zimbabwe. So we'll be chatting about various things like biodynamic flow forms, compost making, and so forth, because the microbial life we need and the energy we need to look after. And it won't be a one-dimensional chat just about Ormus. We'll cover quite a wide range of topics.
Okay, well, that's very useful information. Good. All right, thanks for mentioning that. So anyway, so good luck with that, Charl, and maybe what we'll do in the future, we'll just do a catch-up. We'll do a catch-up. I'd see also, you know, after you've done all of this work on the land, I'd like some feedback how that all went, you know, with you and Diana and your group. So that'll be a nice catch-up. And also just, you know, maybe just keep in the loop about the Ormus, how it is going in Zimbabwe, how it's being developed, you know, just keep our focus on it, so to speak.
Yeah, 100%, Tanya.
All right. Okay, well, Charl, thank you so much. And everybody else, thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon. Bye for now. Bye.